Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Rendon, and today I'll be going over the nature and experiences of cohabitation in non marital couples. In order to begin, I'd like to provide you a brief overview of what I'll be covering over in this presentation today. I'm not going to say every bullet point, but I do just want to provide you a bird's eye view of my presentation. So, my study focuses on the experiences of cohabitative couples. Meaning, I wanted to look at non marital cohabitating couples and I wanted to know what are their unique experiences. And from this driving question, I had a simple goal. My goal was to identify the common themes found in all of their experiences. Now, I do just want to go ahead and define for you cohabitation. Cohabitation is a non marital couple that is intimately sharing a living space. And before I go into how I did this study, I want to provide you the current scholars, the four major themes in current scholarship, what other scholars have said about this phenomenon. Number one is based on the current scholarship, scholars such as Manning and Smock and others noted that cohabitation is increasing in popularity in the US. It's becoming more of a normative lifestyle. And secondly, cohabitation has an effect on family dynamics. Egbean seems to note that parents are less likely to support their children who cohabitate. And this scholar notes that the reason is primarily due to parents having a disapproval for the lifestyle choices of their children who cohabitate. And third, the third major theme is that cohabitation has a diverse effect on relationships and marriages. Cohen and others noted that premarital cohabitation is linked with low relationship commitment and low emotional intelligence to their partner. And finally, Brown and others, and Vespa and others, noted that there are benefits to cohabitation. They reported that household incomes are higher, and they also noted that cohabitation provides safeguards in a relationship if separation occurs. So couples do not have to go through if they separated, they don't have to go through a divorce, filing a divorce, whereas a marital couple has to file a divorce and go through that whole process. So all of these major themes present to us that this is what scholars have noted in this phenomenon of cohabitation. But I want to point out that in the literature, there seems to be a gap, an empty space of a lack of bringing in the voices of couples in a cohabitative relationship. There seems to be going to the couples themselves and them providing the experiences to us. And so my study wants to go to the couples directly and gather their unique experiences. And here's how I went about doing that. So, the way I gathered the couples, or the way I recruited the couples, is I recruited three couples, self identified non marital couples, through convenience and chain link sampling. And then from there, I conducted a 30-minute interview with each of the couples concurrently. And I also transcribed all of these interviews using a transcription program called Scribey. Two of the interviews I did over the phone, and one interview I did over Google Meet. And finally, my mentor and I gathered the transcripts, and we've identified three major themes in all of their unique stories. And here's how we did that. My mentor and I implemented open and axial coding. I know that's kind of a very fancy terminology, but it's simple. Open and axial coding is essentially reading a document and breaking it up into parts, and then drawing connection with the codes. For example, all of the couples said that they had struggles in their first year of transition to cohabitation. So, with an open actual coding, you take that sentence, that description, and you simply label it as, for example, we labeled it as initial struggle in the first year. That's open and actual coding. You're simply just labeling descriptions. You're trying to capture the descriptions with a label. And that's what my mentor and I did. We read through the transcripts several times. We implemented codes to capture these descriptions. And from there, my mentor and I put these codes together in one document, side by side, and then we categorize them into three major themes based on the codes. And here are the three major themes. In all of the couples' stories, we found that they all said they had difficulty in transition to cohabitation from independence to interdependence. And then, secondly, couples described how financially they were united and there were advantages of cohabitation. And lastly, all of the couples described as having future plans for marriage. And to parse out those major themes further, here's what we found. All of the couples describe their relationships as having some form of unity in their finances. All of these couples said that when they cohabitated or when they transitioned to cohabitation, they got one bank account. And when asked why they did this, each of the couples had different reasons. But one of the couples said that the reason why they wanted to have a unity in their finances is because they saw themselves as one. They saw themselves as one, uh, truly one family. And so, because of this, they decided to unite in their finances. So, all of these couples said that they had one bank account, they all had one one place from which their cash came from and went to, and all these things. So, this was a major finding in the transcripts. And also, couples noted that they had future plans to marry one day. Interestingly enough, all of these couples said that they wanted to get married, but the reasons for not marrying now varied. One couple said that they wanted to marry, but one of the reasons why they aren't getting married now is because of having legal matters, legality issues. Now, it's important to note that all three of these couples, two of them were from a Hispanic slash Spanish descent, and the other couple was from the United States. So the reasons were circumstantial. These couples decided to cohabitate based on different reasons. But nonetheless, all of these couples had hoped that in the future they hoped to marry. And the most important finding that I want to stress is each of these couples, they all described how they initially struggled in the beginning to transition to cohabitation. And what's fascinating is all of these couples, the way they overcame the challenge of transition to cohabitation, all of them approached it differently. All of them overcame in different ways. For example, one couple talked about how the way they overcame the struggle of transition to cohabitation was through simply accepting one another's differences. And over time, they learned to grow in love for one another. Another couple said that the way they overcame was valuing their children, valuing family. So they overcame this struggle by valuing family. Family's always at the forefront. Family matters. And another couple had a different approach. They said the way they overcame was through having commonality, having the same mindset, having the same approach together. Having commonalities is the way they overcame that transition. So all of this provided the rich themes that we found. It's important to note that the first theme had sub-themes, and those sub-themes were, the time and acceptance, being family-centered, and having commonalities in their relationship. That was the biggest theme, but it had those sub-themes. And then the rest followed. But these were the major findings that we found based on this study. And I learned so many things from the study. I learned to appreciate the complexities of a relationship, especially of a cohabitative relationship. I learned not to generalize why couples cohabitate. Couples cohabitated because of different reasons. One couple decided to cohabitate based on convenience, another based on circumstance. It just varied. But my biggest takeaway from this study was that I learned that what brought all these couples together was their commonality in their transition from struggles to success in their cohabitation experience. That was my biggest takeaway. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity to have listened to their stories and see what brought them all together. So that concludes my study, but I do just want to point out very quickly some of the limitations I've encountered. My sample size was small compared to larger qualitative methodologies, and also the religious and cultural values were not taken into consideration. And finally, the interviewer made biases and preconceptions known to the interviewees, simply for the purpose of making them aware. I do want to suggest say some future directions for scholars who want to enter into the field of cohabitation, of studying this phenomenon. I simply just want to suggest to focus on certain races/ethnic groups. It became apparent in the study that these couples had different values, and based on those values, that directed how they made decisions, how they went about their relationship, and how they decided to cohabitate. So I would like to suggest that scholars in the future who want to study this phenomenon, that they focus on certain races and ethnic groups. Finally, I want to say thank you. As I finish this research, I am indebted to the McNair program for allowing me the opportunity to research, and I cannot put to words how thankful I am to the McNair staff and the cohort for sharpening me and really investing in me. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you to my mentor, Dr. Justin Moore. I cannot put to words how thankful I am to him. Dr. Moore is a world-class professor and an amazing, amazing mentor and now friend of mine. Dr. Moore, you've been a blessing to me, and I thank you so much for walking me through this research and showing me the ropes of phenomenological qualitative studies. Thank you for just putting up with all of my questions and with all of my emails, and thank you for giving me the space to learn and to grow. And I am forever indebted to you, Dr. Moore, and I'm so thankful for you, and I appreciate you. And I want to thank you, the audience, for listening to this presentation. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be there today. I am in North Carolina, but I do want to thank you for your time, and I hope that this study was beneficial to you. So thank you.